Again, thank you for taking the time here to chat today. And yeah, I just want to basically, let you share your story about, your journey as an artist and how you found Realistic Acrylic Portrait School, how it helped. But tell me more about yourself as an artist, like what your experience is and what's kind of led you up to this point.
I have a difficulty describing myself as an artist. I didn't have a lot of, well, thank you. I mean, I worked a lot with numbers. I had a young family, and so I did whatever job I could to make it work with raising my family. Mm-hmm. I was widowed when I was very young, so I raised 2 boys on my own. So I was always sort of struggling to find that balance between, time for myself, time for them, time for work.
Sure.
So it wasn't until recently that I started thinking, I'm going to get those paints out and just see what happens. And, I had lots of fun. It was nice working with color, but I had no technique. I had no idea of how to really get started. So I'd look at a blank canvas and go, all right, what should I do?
Right.
And then at one point I had thought I would want to put my grandson in the picture. And so I started trying to do some portraits, trying to, make a face, and it was just desperately bad. So, COVID, I had lots of time on my hands, transformed my dining room into a place to play with my paints, and started looking at YouTube. How do you do a portrait? How do you do a face? And saw some amazing artists that would just start throwing paint up on a canvas, and voila, they would have an incredible likeness. And I tried doing that, and I thought, okay, I'm better than I thought maybe I would be, but it wasn't good, and I knew it.
Okay.
And then I found you, and it's just amazing because I watched some of the YouTubes, tried to do a couple, went through and realized I'm just missing something.
Yeah.
And, my husband and I were having coffee one morning, and he said, well, you're not going to the gym anymore. You never go there. Why don't you cancel that and use your money for the gym and sign up for Matt's classes? So I thought, brilliant, so I did. Yeah, I mean, it's been much more fulfilling than going to the gym. And
you're exercising your shoulder muscles and your hand muscles.
Yeah. I still get my exercise in.
Yeah, we find ways.
Yeah. Well, actually, I ride my stationary bike downstairs and watch your videos.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah. So, I did do your first amazing acrylic portrait. I painted my mom.
Yeah.
And, I went a bit heavier with the paints. It got heavier and heavier, but, I was thrilled. I was like, oh my God, look what I did.
Yeah. Let's pull that up here while you're chatting about it. This is the one, right, that you painted. Yeah. With Paint Your First Amazing Acrylic Portrait. And man, that's phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Yeah. So, but carry on, continue on.
Yeah. Well, I was amazed. I thought, well, how did I do that? So, on to the next one, and did a portrait of my daughter-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it was, I watched a lot of the different, I did, the Shade Like a Master. I'd watched, bits and pieces of a lot of the different courses.
Yeah.
And then finally, after being part of the group and listening to all the people who'd done start to finish one of the classes, I thought, I really have to do that. So I went and did the wrinkles one, and I learned so much. I just, going from start to finish, here's your roadmap, here's how you do it. And I had so many aha moments actually following along with you, rather than just trying to launch in and, here, let me try it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that one, you know, the end product, I was just like, you know, patting myself on the back. It was like,
Yeah,
wow, look what you can do.
absolutely.
And so then this little portrait behind me is the one I'm working on now, and it's my 4th portrait.
Yeah.
And I think for me, every time I start a portrait and I get about halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, I feel like I've learned so much. I can't wait to start the next one.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, okay, I know I made a couple of mistakes along the way, but I learned from them, and, you know, looking forward to applying, you know, lessons learned and going on and on.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Lisa. And so how long have you been painting in acrylic, and then how long have you been painting portraits?
It's hard, you know, like to say, like painting in acrylics, off and on, like in maybe 3 years, you know, just sort of saying, I'm going to get out on the back deck, or I'm going to, you know, on the kitchen counter, try doing a painting of a flower, or,
Sure.
you know, a scene. You know, and I had some, you know, I think some success with, you know, refining some things myself. You know, they were all very opaque, and they were all, you know, some of them turned out better than others. I've got closets full of canvases that need to get gessoed over now. I can tell.
Yes.
Because what would I ever do with them? I mean, they're good attempts, and they're, you know, but anyway, but I started your classes basically in January, so that's 4 months.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And so you've accomplished quite a bit. And so really, correct me if I'm wrong, you've done 3 portraits in acrylic, or 4?
That'll be 4 if you count the wrinkles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's amazing, because I mean, your first one of your mother was so well done. But I think, you know, this one you're currently working on here is your best.
For sure.
I mean, you know, just the skin tones, the shading, the form of the wrinkles. It's just so well done. Masterfully done, actually.
Oh my, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's something to be proud of. And you're taking your time with it, and you're just, you know, adding the nuances. And, you know, that's a lot of the things too, is that people, you know, sometimes you do have to get a painting done relatively quickly, but if you take your time to slow down and just keep on adding to it, and never give up on the process, it's amazing what you can accomplish. And man, this is really good. And I just want to really commend you for it. And I'm looking forward to seeing your signature on it. Yeah, yeah. It's just fantastic, Lisa.
You know, as a little aside, I haven't signed a painting yet.
Oh.
And it may be a unique situation, but I just, you know, I don't know how I want to sign a portrait. You know, as I said, I lost my first husband when I was very young. I remarried only about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of brought up a bit of an identity crisis for me.
Sure.
So I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You might just want to try practicing your signature on a couple of maybe old canvases or something, and see how it flows, see how it looks to you. And, you know, try signing it both ways. And it might just be a visual thing where you like, you know, the new name, or you know, maybe you like, I don't know. You I just play around with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Signing a canvas, I think, is one of those rewarding things at the end of your painting process, just to say, I did this and I'm proud of it. And I'm like stamping it with a seal of approval, so to speak. And so, yeah. But anyway, Lisa, thanks for sharing about that. And I was going to ask you, were you having any struggles at all with your acrylic painting prior to taking my class?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there were certainly lots of things I wouldn't attempt. and certainly things that I just didn't know how to do or how to begin. And I basically just sort of started putting paint on top of paint on top of paint until I came up with something I kind of liked.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this has just opened up a whole new world, like having a process and a step-by-step process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you know, the adage, you know, you walk up a mountain one step at a time, you know, and if you look at the whole thing, looks daunting. But if you take each step at a time, you go, well, I can manage that. You know, I can put grids on a canvas, you know, and I can fill that square in, you know, just about right. And, you know, and little by little, and then, you know, after you've got your first, you know, sort of layers of glazes on, you go, whoa, now I see, you know.
Yeah.
So it's made for me, you know, a world of difference. I mean, it's opened up anything I want to do, I feel, because if I just take it slowly and use your methods, I know that eventually I'll get there. As long as you said, I take my time, measure, you know, get my sketch right, which was a hard lesson when I was doing the portrait of my daughter-in-law. I look back at the early stages of that portrait in particular and go, why did I not see those things that, you know, very fundamental changes that you had me do?
Right.
And I was struggling with getting her likeness. And then you just sort of pointed out, well, you know, this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. I made those changes and there she was. Just, it was very cool.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I love seeing that transformation and, you know, artists getting the confidence to finish their portraits well. And that just means a world to me, because I know that it's making a difference for the people you're connected with. You can share your talent with them, and it's awesome. I was going to ask you as well, because you did the, you know, the class, Paint Your First Amazing Acrylic Portrait, the portrait of your mother. But what encouraged you to sign up for the All-Access membership?
I think I just, after taking that class, I thought, you know, I want to do more. I want to do like lots of the classes, and it was a really good value. And to be able to do you know, any of the classes in as, you know, little as or as much as I wanted of each of those classes, you know, get a critique from you to keep me on track,
mm-hmm.
and join in with the group, which, you know, is just invaluable, really. Like, there's such an amazing group of people, and they're so generous and kind that, you know, I came into that so nervous, and I thought, oh, this is just crazy. You know, I can't be showing these people, you know, this first portrait that I've done. But they were so validating, and you know, and then as I've come along and joined in and, you know, been pretty quiet, you know, I'm not necessarily a very chatty person. You know, I learned so much just even hearing about these amazing artists, the mistakes they've made, how they fixed it, you know, the little things that they see that I go, oh yeah, look at that. Let me see if I'm doing the same thing on my portrait, you know. And so it's been wonderful. And the reason I started it was just because you invited me to one of the live critiques. And I just thought, yeah, this is something I'd like to try and do on a regular basis.
Fantastic. Yeah. And it's been great having you there. And, you know, we have some people that, like you say, they chat more than others, but when you have chimed in, you shared some good insights, and it's a good sense of community. Like you said, the people are very encouraging, very supportive. And I don't feel anybody's judgmental of anybody's work. We really give tips on how to improve, and, you know, it's just, yeah, I'm glad that you feel that way as well. So.
Yeah, I think, you know, the challenge, that some of us who are a bit more quiet have, with the whole Zoom reality. I mean, it's amazing to think that you have people joining us, from all over the world, literally.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing and it's wonderful. But, it is a bit of a challenging format for some of us, and that's okay. I mean, nothing's perfect in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you just, you share when you want to share and you listen when you want to listen. So it's kind of nice. You can just sit back and just listen to what's going on. And I love to hear the artists critique each other's work. And I like to share just a little bit, but just hear what they have to say. And man, the artists in our group are sharp. They're really sharp and they see a lot of things on what to improve and give some really good tips. And so,
yeah.
And
actually, being part of the All Access, you also have access to the Facebook page, which is just for us. And I tell you, reading the threads on there, I've learned so many good tips. As people have, asked about a particular problem that they're having, like so often, I'm having the same problem or I've had the same problem and sort of thought I've found a solution, but some of these artists, who've been painting a long time and are very proficient, they've got lots of good suggestions.
They do. It's awesome. I love the Facebook group that we have. Special place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was going to ask you, I think just a couple more questions. So how has the All Access membership helped you specifically in your painting? Like just in terms of skin tones, likeness, shading, all those different things?
Well, I mean, I've gone from having something that's not recognizable to being a likeness because, I've learned how to, well, first of all, how to put the sketch properly into the portrait, to set it out, and the group will help along and you help along, obviously, sort of like, here's the colors that would probably work best for this.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to see, where the light's coming from, why it would make a shadow there, why that shadow would be cool or why that shadow would be warm, and the fact that, you build things up at the same time because it's all relative. And as you said, sometimes you think something's too dark and you've really messed up, but it's because you haven't brought the rest of the portrait along at, to the same level.
Right.
So instead of looking at something, I think with my first portrait, I painted over it like 100 times because I kept thinking I'd screwed up. Sorry, but oh my God.
Yeah.
And yet, as I've done other portraits, I realized I probably hadn't really. It's just that I was just focusing on one area. And so then it looked really wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good points. The relative value aspect and how it can really throw off your perception. And a lot of portrait painting and painting in general has to do with psychologically how you feel about your painting. And when an artist just doesn't feel good about what they create, it's really difficult for them to finish that painting successfully. But if you can step back and say, hey, look what I've accomplished. Look how I can change this and I can change this. And if I stick with the process and not give up, I can complete it successfully. Just having that mindset really makes a big difference. And a lot of that comes from encouragement,
Yeah. And that's a really big thing for me because a lot of times I've thought I've made an unfixable mistake. But when you put it up in the group, you learn that it's not lost.
Right.
You can retrieve it. You can fix it and carry on, which is huge.
You bet. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask you, how has the All Access membership made a difference for you as an artist? And more than just, okay, technically I'm painting better, but like how it benefits your life, kind of getting into like the real kind of reason why you're painting, what you're doing it for, kind of that deep seated reason. I think that we all that we all have for the things we do?
Well, I mean, painting is just such a wonderful creative experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of my life working at jobs that were very numbers oriented. And so it's tremendously enriching in my life to be able to work with color and to create something and to be proud of something. And, in the group, all my other little attempts, I wasn't really very proud of them. And so I'd hide them away. And, and being in part of the group, it's given me confidence to think, well, actually, I did do something pretty nice here. And, I've started sharing my artwork with my family, and they're so excited about it. And, it's so, and, just the whole sense of community, it's been really a nice experience to feel like my world has sort of opened up to these wonderful people and being able to create things that are far beyond what I ever thought I would be able to do.
That's incredible. That's awesome. And you are, I mean, your work is phenomenal. And I'm not surprised in the least that your family is blown away by what you're doing, because it's amazing. I was going to ask you then, just to kind of sum up here, would you recommend Realistic Acrylic All-Access membership, and why?
Well, for sure, I would recommend it. I mean, if anybody wants to be able to have some fun, because that's why I do it, and improve themselves and their art, and just be able to open themselves up to being able to create things that are far beyond what you can do if you don't have this process of start to finish. Here's how you do it. And so yes, for sure, I would recommend the All Access.
Awesome. Well said, and thank you for saying that. And of course, I haven't I've let you just share what you want to share, and I'm not saying you have to say this, have to endorse it, but this is how you really feel.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've mentioned it to a few of my friends who, have seen what I'm doing and going, oh, wow, how could you ever do that? I said, well, you probably could too, and here's how you do it. Here's, the website, go to the YouTube, and I have a feeling, a couple of them are intrigued. Yeah. And, it's for many of us, especially, as we get older, it's a little scary to start something new and to think that you're putting yourself out there. So I would definitely encourage people to know that if they do come into the group, they will be warmly welcomed regardless of what stage they're at, because everybody's been there. Even the professional artists that are in the group were a beginner at some point.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so lastly, one more question. What are your goals as an artist? Like, just going forward, why are you painting what you're painting now? And then, maybe a year or two down the road, what do you see yourself doing as an artist?
Well, right now, I really do feel like I'm learning, and every portrait that I've done has been to challenge myself to learn something new. Mm-hmm. And, I'm a grandma, so, I mean, what better thing to do than to paint my family and my grandchildren. So this is my middle grandson. And, I say they're either, subjects or victims, but I'll attempt each one of them, in sequence. And I have a couple of photographs that I know will be very challenging that I'm looking forward to getting to in time. Mm-hmm. And, indeed, one of them is of my grandmother and my mother when she was only about 2 years old. And, there's a horse in it, and my grandmother is a full figure, but it's a black and white. So, and I know that it's possible to do that. But I'll have to wait until I've tried a few other things. So each portrait I paint, I'm feeling like it's a stepping stone to getting to some, maybe more interesting things, or maybe more adventurous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So the paintings, do you something you hang in your home, give as gifts, or what's kind
Well,
of?
there's only been 4 so far, and I think hopefully, I'll do one of each of my grandchildren, and those I will hang in my home, and then we'll see. I'm not too sure. I kind of would like to see if anybody requests something, but so I'm still a little bit fresh at this. I'm not sure what I'll do. I was started laughing the other day saying, I hope I don't end up with a bunch of portraits in the closet.
No. Those days are long over. With the
Yeah.
paintings you're doing there, you need to frame that. You need to hang that proudly in your home.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, that's a winner. That's a winner. And you have a couple already like that. So, and there'll be more to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been ridiculously fun to learn how to do this.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm so proud of you as a student, what you've accomplished in the last year or so. Well, just you've been here in the school for about 4 months, and you've accomplished a ton. So yeah. Well, hey, if I can just finish up here, do you mind if I ask a blessing on you as an artist? Would that be okay?
Not at all. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Father, I do ask a blessing here on Lisa. Thank you for bringing here to the school. Lord, thank you for the talent you have given her, and just the dedication she's put in to, grow that talent, to put in the time, the training, and then to be able to create these paintings she can be proud of, and just to be able to capture these special moments, like of her mother and her grandchildren. And Lord, I just pray you continue to bless her and guide her in that work. Give her creativity, give her the time, give her provision for materials, keep her in good health, her and her family. Bless her, Lord, draw her close to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Lisa. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me here. And I'm sure this is going to encourage a lot of people to consider all access membership and, experience the same kind of things you have been. So
it seems to be a pretty universal experience once you sign up.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And each student is unique. Each one has different goals and dreams for their art. But you have a very phenomenal talent, and I just want to let you know that. So thank you for using it. Thank you for sharing it.